All right, so we back here on another Washington Football Guys podcast, episode 3. What's going on, Rob?
Man, it feels different doing it on a Saturday, but we missed last Friday.
Yeah,
But I'm glad we're here. We're here getting ready to do this. We got a lot of good stuff to talk about today. I'm excited.
yes, indeed. We got a great show lined up for you. We got 17 days before training camp. I mean, we are literally knocking at the door for the 2021 NFL season. Our 2020 NFC East champions are gonna dead down south to my backyard in Richmond, Virginia, for training camp in just a mere 17 days. We are right at the finish line. The offseason is damn near over, and
Yeah,
man, we are here.
it feels good.
Yeah, so we're here once again under the lights. We're here. Also, we're part of the Off the Ball Network, and definitely huge shout out to our new partnership, My Bookie. So My Bookie is our new partner of the Off the Ball Network. So basically, and it's our newest venture. So basically, if you are a first time user of My Bookie, you can get a sign up bonus up to $1,000 plus a $10 casino chip. So head over to my bookie right now and win big. Use our promo code that we have right here under off the ball. So use our promo code for my bookie for off promo code that off the ball. So definitely huge shout out to our to my bookie. So man, we had a birthday yesterday.
We did. We had a big birthday.
Yes. Happy 89th birthday to our beloved Washington football team franchise. We are about to be 90 years old.
Yeah, been 9 decades. It feels good. We've seen a lot of turmoil in the last 25-ish years. Actually, I'd say 28. No, I'd say about 25 because last time we won a Super Bowl was in '92, the year I was born. So yeah, probably about the last 20-25 years. Pretty much ever since Dan Snyder took over the team, we've been in turmoil. But you know what? We're about to hit 90. Things are looking good. Things are looking up, which we'll get into in a little bit. So yeah, big birthday and excited to see what the next 89 years brings.
Yeah, this is once again it's a historic franchise. I mean, when you sit down and think about the first season of our existence, it's only three original teams from that era. So you
Yeah.
look at that standpoint, it's very it's a franchise that's rich in history, rich in tradition. That's probably one, and also even to Ron Rivera's credit, that was one of the main reasons why he came to Washington because he looked at the historical impact of this team and just the significance that this team has in the NFL history books. So yeah, once again, like that, another prosperous 89 more years for this franchise. And I think like we talked, and it's funny that we talked about this as far as with the Jay-Z situation, the possible of him get owning a stake in his team. And we were talking about like how that's kind of a forward approach going forward into our ushering into our ninth
Yep.
decade potentially. And we talked about just the implications of what can potentially happen in this ninth decade, as far as obviously we'll have a new name, in a few months, probably the way it's looking from what I've been hearing would probably be early in 2022, where the name will have a new name, and then that's going to come with a new stadium. That's going to come with a brand new type of approach. And like you said, we talked about this every week, where everything is starting to on up and up. We from every facet of this team, not just on the field, but off the field as well.
Yep.
We're starting to become very progressive in a lot of areas, and we're just moving forward. And cheers to another 89 years.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. But yep, it is a definitely once again happy birthday to happy belated birthday to our beloved
It was technically
Washington football.
yesterday.
Yeah, it was, but hey, it's all good. We're here,
All
and
right.
yep. But
Didn't mean to do that.
it's all good. So Rob, We had a so definitely huge shout out to Pro Football Focus. One of the analysts, Ben Lindsay, he had an article where he ranked each team by their roster. So
Yeah.
basically, what he did was he based it on the strengths and weaknesses of the team, and also key players on each roster. And he
Yep.
has our 2020 NFC East champion Washington football team as the 12th ranked team in the NFL. Now, last year they did a similar one. We were ranked 30th. We went from 30th to 12th in a matter of 12 months.
Yeah.
Rob, your thoughts on the ranking?
I was a little shocked because honestly, not a lot of people give us any real respect.
Yeah.
And nobody gives any true respect. I just talked last week with Jeff. I seen somebody's tier rankings of just the offense,
Yeah.
and they had Washington at a D. Our offense at a D, but had teams like Philly and Cincinnati above us. Like it didn't make sense. And from the looks of that one in particular, he it looked like they were overvaluing quarterbacks because they had teams like the Saints who don't have a quarterback. But they had the teams like the Falcons up there who have a quarterback but don't have a team around them. It was wild. He was also wildly inconsistent with how he viewed the quarterbacks. We're not getting a lot of respect because of our quarterback situation. If we had a solidified QB1 that we knew was the guy for the next 10, 15 years, I'm not saying we have to have a Patrick Mahomes or an Aaron Rodgers, but even if we had someone like a Derek Carr, I feel like that we would be looked at in a much more positive light. But the fact we're in the top half and nearly cracking the top 10, there's two or three teams. I was looking at the whole list. There's two or three teams that I scratch my head on why they're above us. But there's also a few teams behind us that I saw and I was like, wow, I'm shocked that they're behind us. We'll get into the list in a minute. But I'm glad we're finally getting respect. I think that this was a truly as unbiased look of the team as they could have done. Because what people say is right. We don't have our quarterback situation solidified, so we don't really know this team, and every team really goes as far as the quarterback will take them. You look at a team like Green Bay, who never really has had a good offensive cast outside of Devontae Adams and Aaron Jones, who are late round picks. But Aaron Rodgers claws and scratches his way to an NFC title game nearly every year. So that's going to be the same case with us. We're going to go as far as Ryan Fitzpatrick or our boy Hennessy will take us. So, but I'm glad that we're finally getting the respect that I feel like we are slowly but surely deserving of. And I'm excited to see where this offense, because we know what the defense is. I'm excited to see what the offense eventually will be at the end of the season.
Yeah, and I solely agree with you too, Rob. But I think, and the beauty about Pro Football Focus, and almost to your point, where it's more objective. Like when they have a list, I take theirs a little bit more serious. This isn't a ESPN. This isn't a Washington Post. This isn't kind of one of those. This is where they it's Pro Football Focus for a reason, because they literally focus on the how can I say it? The analytics behind their analysis is spot on. Like Pro Football Focus is literally the encyclopedia, the Britannica, if as far as a old man reference to Britannica. I don't know if you know about a Britannica, but as far as the encyclopedia wise, I think this, like you said, this is where some lists I might kind of like shrug it off and be like, oh, whatever. But this list, I definitely, and then even with the critique of the team, they're right. Like you said, the situation with the uncertainty of the quarterback situation, and then also the offensive line, which those are kind of the two things that we've all kind of looked at from this team as the Achilles heel of this team. So that's the kind of the beauty thing about it. And then like I loved how they talked about obviously the strength is the defensive line, and kind of a lot of guys that a lot of people really don't like. we know, but like Tim Settle, they mentioned him in there also. A lot of people really sleep on like Matt Ioannidis. So I that's what lets me know like kind of more so of how Pro Football Focus is. And like I remember they had a top 50 list, and it's like I agree with mostly for the most part, but they're the ones when you really want an authentic, no bias analysis of players or teams, you run the Pro Football Focus.
Right.
So yeah,
Yeah, because they, I mean, all their, so the thing is with like NFL.com's power rankings, ESPN's power rankings, and their rankings of certain position groups is they're just, hey, these are the players that they have. We think these players are better. That's why they're in this spot. PFF is, hey, we grade these players on certain things throughout the game, whether you agree with their formula or not.
yeah,
It's still a mathematical formula. They're not just throwing out, oh, Terry McLaurin, he's a big name, so we assume he's a better receiver than the number two guy on another. It's, hey, when this guy runs routes, he gets opens X% of the time, he catches the ball X% of the time, and of those, these are touchdowns, and they compile that into a statistical category. So it really is more of it is a scientific way to look at it, and you got numbers to back it up, because we look at the teams who are above us. We got number one Tampa, which I would have put KC above Tampa, just because at the end of the day, like we
yeah,
said, teams run through the quarterback. Patrick Mahomes is, and he is a better quarterback right now than Tom Brady as far as his skill set. But they got KC at 2, Cleveland at 3, mainly because of, I feel like that one's kind of mainly the names. You have
yeah,
a beast backfield. You got the two-headed monster of Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt in the backfield. OBJ's coming back, so we'll see what he can do. We're going to see what Baker Mayfield can do his second year in Kevin Stefanski's offense, which I hope he does well. Shout out Baker Mayfield all day, every day. Number 4, you got Buffalo,
yeah.
fellow Central Valley kid out of Cali with Josh Allen leading the charge on that team. I like them at 4. Here's one that I question: Baltimore. Is
Mhm.
Baltimore really a top 5 roster? Their defense was okay last year. It was good. It wasn't a typical Baltimore defense we've known, the Ray Lewis and Ed Reed days. But me and Jeff talked about this a couple weeks ago.
Mhm.
Your people are projecting what, if the offense is clicking on all cylinders, what they can be. Here's the thing: Baltimore seldomly clicks on all cylinders. They did the 1 year Lamar Jackson's MVP year. Is he going to have another MVP year? We know Lamar Jackson's going to ball out. He's going to throw for a few thousand yards. He'll probably rush for 1,000 yards again. But are the receivers going to step up? Are the running backs going to step up? We don't know. Number 6 is Green Bay. Assuming Aaron Rodgers plays, I'm okay with it.
Yeah,
At 7, you got Rams. Rams did get better. They got significantly
yeah.
better in that trade. Getting rid of Jared Goff and that terrible contract, and getting Matthew Stafford, they got significantly better. I'm okay with it. Number 8 is Dallas. I've said it time and time again. I will always say it. Dak Prescott is unproven. You can't rely on Dak Prescott. They've had the best roster in the NFC East the last 15 years, and they haven't been able to do anything with it. So, Dallas is Dallas. Number 9 is Minnesota. If anybody in this world knows Kirk
Yeah,
Cousins, it's us. Like, he's
yeah,
not that dude. He's a couple notches above Trent Dilfer. He's a game manager, and no disrespect, not to use that as a negative connotation, but we're not in the era of football where you can just have a game manager like a Trent Dilfer back then,
yeah,
and your defense and your run game. Not only are we not in that era of football, that team is not built that way. Getting rid of Stephon Diggs hurts. They have Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson had a great rookie season. Can you avoid the sophomore slump? You got Dalvin Cook in the backfield, beast of a running back. But again, the league is not it's a pass first league. It runs through the quarterback. You cannot have a game manager in the backfield. One person I like to think of a lot recently was Russell Wilson. His first 2 years in Seattle, he was a game manager.
Yeah.
because he could afford to be. That's what the team needed him to be, because they had Marshawn Lynch, that beast run game, and then they had Legion of Boom. They had the best defense, in my opinion, the best defense of all time in any year, better than the 85 Bears, better than the 2000 Ravens. That 2012 Seattle Seahawks team that beat Denver in the Super Bowl, that is the best defense in the history of the league, in my opinion. So Russell Wilson could be a game manager. They don't have that defense anymore. So now you see Russ having to start cooking. You know, that's where we get the term for let Russ cook. He had to start doing more once they started losing pieces. And he's no longer a game manager.
Yeah.
That is what Kirk Cousins always has been, and that's what I believe he will always will be. That's what I believe he always will be. At 10, you have Denver. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Denver didn't do anything last year. So they're relying on Drew Lock and Jerry Jeudy are gonna take the league by storm. I doubt it. You're telling me their defense is they get Von Miller back. I'll give him that, but he's coming off of torn Achilles, I believe, either torn Achilles or torn ACL. Either way, those are very hard to come back from. If anybody in the league could do it, it's Von Miller. Von Miller's a freak athlete. He's very smart, very intelligent. So I'm sure he went about it the right way. It's still physically a very hard injury to come back from. So Denver at 10 confuses me. Right above us, you have San Francisco at 11. I think they're too low. I think San Francisco is too low because this is a set with Jimmy Garoppolo coming back and Nick Bosa coming back.
Yep.
That's the same team that just went to a Super Bowl 2 years ago. And nearly, if Jimmy Garoppolo would have not overthrown Deebo Samuel, you're looking at they're 2 years removed from a Super Bowl win. So at 11, I think they're too low. Then you have us at 12, which I like. Behind us is Tennessee, who just went and nabbed Julio Jones. Now they go Julio Jones, A.J. Brown, Derrick Henry, and our boy Ryan Tannehill. 14, you got Indy. Carson Wentz is trash, so I'm going to leave at that. 15, Seattle. I was shocked Seattle's that low. They got bars. Nobody cares. 15, you got Seattle. Neither is Daniel Jones. So at 15, you got Seattle. I was shocked that they were there. Because again, Russell Wilson, anybody knows me, I'm a huge Russell Wilson fan. Anybody knows me knows I love me some DK Metcalf. Future GOAT. I'm telling you now. 16, you got Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh was a fairly decent offense and a team altogether. 17, you got New Orleans. 18, you got New England. 19, you got the Giants, and 20, you got the Chargers. That's just top 20. The teams that you got 16, 17, 18 is Pittsburgh, New Orleans, New England. We're all ranked above them. Since Dan Snyder took over the team, those three teams right there account for 9 Super Bowls. Now giving New England 6 of them, but still, all three of those teams account for 9 Super Bowls in the last 20 years. And we are ranked above them as a roster. Top to bottom, people believe that we have the Pittsburgh Steelers, the New Orleans Saints, and the New England Patriots. I've never seen it in my lifetime that I've been able to understand and know it and appreciate it. But again, just them using the numbers that they use, I love it. I like where we're at 12. It's not too high, it's not too low. You could switch with a couple teams. I wouldn't be upset if they would have put Tennessee above us because again, Ryan Tannehill has proven he can sort of lead the team. They got A.J. Brown. We know he's a beast. Derrick Henry, best running back in the game right now, and adding Julio Jones. Yes, he's getting up there in age, but he can still produce. Seattle, again, if they would have put them above us, I wouldn't have been mad. I think their offensive line is the biggest question, and their defense isn't what it used to be, but they still have Russell Wilson, who's a top 5 quarterback in the league. They still have DK Metcalf. They still got Tyler Lockett. So I like it. I like the list.
Yeah. And to me, like you said, it's solid. It's one of the things where we're above average. And that's where you want to be at this point, considering the fact where we were last year, where we were 30th. So, the Denver thing is intriguing, but I think with Denver, they're kind of similar to us when you look at it from a standpoint of the question mark at the quarterback position, because we know defensively they're good. I mean, you look at like Bradley Chubb, you look at Von Miller, like they're solid on defense, and then like you said, they got good weapons on offense, like Noah Fant. So and 10 was kind of high. I mean, honestly, I I look at Denver as like kind of a 15, 16, like kind of a middle of the pack kind of team.
I agree.
But that's going to be definitely interesting to how it's going to play out. But in a weird way, it kind of scares me too, and I like it. But a part of me is like, especially with this team, I feel as though like when the bar is high, no offense to bar, no pun intended, but when the bar is high, it feel like we underachieve.
We underperform. Yes, I that is
And
one thing that I thought of too.
I mean, I did really didn't want to address because it's really the elephant in the room. But we've seen this before where there's the heightened expectations versus last year where we looked like, it's almost like, hell, if we finished 4-12, we could have won the Super Bowl. I mean, as far as the expectation, because we were supposed to be like second to the last, third to the last, as far as our roster. But I mean, it is a good thing. But I think with this, the only thing I really hang my head on about that type of elephant in the room, I think we got the right personnel that can overcome that. That you can tell like there's still a hunger versus in previous, in the previous administrations, not to name a specific one, but the last administration within the last 20 years, you kind of seen this where when they fly under the radar, they perform, but then when it's like the expectations are high, they kind of, they play down to their level. Yeah. So this year, I think it's a little bit different. I think Ron Rivera and just this staff alone, they have a chip on their shoulder. Like you could tell this is a very, very, very different administration. So hopefully, that does play well in 2021 because, like we talk about, we have very heightened expectations for this team as well. And I think it's pretty much predicated on the simple fact of, hey, we got leadership now. We actually have a leader that, like we talk about this all the time, where we got a leader that can stand up to the owner and has full cachet. This says, there's no pecking order where if there's a situation like, like if it was a situation, oh, you can go to Mr. Snyder. No. You going to Ron. If you got a problem, you going to Ron. Ron runs the ship.
Yep.
And it's clearly from day one. If we got a problem, we can't run upstairs to Mr. Snyder no more. We gotta talk to Ron. So
yeah, it's great you brought that up because I was gonna bring up the same thing, because we know, especially guy's jersey that I'm wearing right now, that was one of the biggest things that was the biggest story his first 2 or 3 years in the league, with him, with RG3 and Mike Shanahan. RG3 won. Shanahan told him, "No, we're doing it this way," and he goes straight to Dan Snyder. That's what the reports said. But you brought up Ron Rivera running the show, and one thing that still I scratched my head as to why we did it, why the team did it, why Ron Rivera did it. But the Morgan Moses release, it truly does. It still to this day it baffles me because his first 4 or 5 years in the league, couldn't stand him. I wanted him gone. It seemed like every other play we had a flag holding on 76. It got tiresome. But this past season, I thought we had released him a year early because I never heard his name. Never heard his name at all because he cleaned up his holding, he cleaned up his hands, and he was playing very, very well. And then I'm pretty sure it was a cap hit, just trying to clear some, which doesn't even make sense because, again, we had so much cap space. So, again, I don't know why we released him, but he was released. And Ron Rivera, that was his decision. That's a calculated risk he was willing to take. Whether it plays out or not, only time will tell. And if it doesn't play out, he's the type of person that's going to take full accountability.
Yep. Yeah. And like you said, and that's one thing too, like we've always talked about this too, even before the onset of the podcast, where it's almost like he has that riverboat mantra for a reason.
Right.
And we really have to trust in him because to bring up. I know we have to bring up an alum, unfortunately, but Dwayne, how he handled, like, to me, I'm telling you, if we would have had to watch the Football Guys podcast after week 3 of the NFL season, after we played our Beltway brethren, the Baltimore Ravens, and then he bitches him after that Baltimore game, and I'm like, I mean, I would have been like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
Because if this kid almost had 400 yards in that game, even though he didn't score a touchdown, but he had his best as far as a yardage standpoint, his best of his career. And I'm like,
Yeah.
why are you like shorting this man for Cal Allen, who might be QB2 in 2021? But we'll see. But
It better not be.
but right, but in all
He'd be
seriousness.
QB2 on the Rams, maybe.
But in all seriousness, I thought to myself, like, but it's like one thing. It's like we just gotta keep trusting them. I think that's what is the part of leadership, where even though you may not agree with what he does, like we talked about the Jamin Davis pick. We were, when we first, and of course, shout out to our guys at the Off Ball Network. They clowned us. We look,
Yep.
they try and make us like we were a bunch of jackasses. But in theory, we were like, okay, well, in theory, we got to trust him because every move that he has made, even though some have been questionable, but they were the right decisions. So to me, we like, and that's the thing about this organization, where he's making these calls and he's undefeated with these calls. Like he's got to a point where he's developed that trust level amongst us fan bases, and also it permeates through the players as well.
Yep.
And you just, he's riverboat Ron for a reason. You just hop on the boat and just put on a lifeboat. You're gonna be fine. Just hop on the boat. You'll be fine. Just keep your life vest on and trust them.
Yeah, and the biggest thing I always try to remember is, hey, you win some, you lose some.
Yep.
I already know not every single decision he's made has hit. Benching Dwayne Haskins ultimately ended up being, a great success. Not a great, but a success in the long run. We made the playoffs, and seeing how Dwayne handled himself professionally in the time era that we were in during COVID, during the pandemic, it was a good decision to release him. I think Ron saw that immaturity, from a mile away. Same thing with, I think, this Morgan Moses situation. I think it's going to pan out. Jamin Davis, he was a favorite at rookie minicamp. So, so far it's looking good. One of these is not going to hit. I know that. Just waiting for whichever one doesn't hit, and hopefully we take it in stride and we remember. Hopefully I remember this conversation, because I'm a very irrational person and I'm very reactive. So he does something that I don't agree with, and it turns out to be the wrong decision, I'm gonna call for its head. But then that's why I need people like you and Jerry to say, "Hey, remember when you said that you're not gonna hit them all?" And I'll say, "Okay, you're right."
Yeah. And I cannot wait for those type of situations, scenarios play out this NFL season, because like we would have had it last year. It was so many, like we talking about Dwayne bitching at the Baltimore game. I was like, I wouldn't say call for his head, but
I was furious.
I was mad. I remember, and it's funny because I remember calling my dad, was like, what the hell is he doing? Like, like, what is he like? Why are you sitting him at this point where he played against a great defense, even though he didn't put up any touchdowns, and he didn't. I don't think he threw an interception in that game. I think he was 0 for 0. So because you think about it, because that's when they had Marlon Humphrey on what's jig on Terry.
On Terry,
he had and I was like, okay, well, and that was a good defense, and he pretty much held his own in that game. So part of me was like why, and I kept on, and it's funny because I kept on thinking to myself, like, he's getting better, and I kept on saying that every week. All you want to do is just with him, you just want to see a small improvement,
right?
And he was giving you improvement, but like you said, and that's I think that's one thing when we look at it now in hindsight, coach seeing something different than what we would see because we're looking at the on field type of performance that would suggest, hey, he should play next week against the Rams.
Mm-hmm.
Period. Like regardless, he shouldn't be in street clothes, or he shouldn't be, relegated to the second string or the third
Yeah.
string, or a healthy scratch at some points during the season. So, and like you said, and it maybe like you said, it could have been in the preparation. It could have been just I call it the Monday through Saturday
Yeah.
operations of this team, where as far as the preparation stage for the next week maybe may have not been up to par, but his on the field performance suggested he should have got another opportunity and played. But like you said, I've always trusted him, and I always think about the situation in 2013 when he was with the Panthers and they lost to the Bills by a point, and I was actually in Charlotte that week, and I remember people was calling for his head, and I was like, you know what? I better stick with this man because I had him, and lo and behold, he rode the ship and ended up becoming coach of the year that year. So, I mean, I always think about that situation. I'm like, you know what? If we ever had a guy like that, yeah, I'm telling you, it's like that when you're in a situation like we were, where as far as this carousel of
Yeah.
coaches and just the turnover, and you see a guy like that kind of is kind of firm and just a situation that's well more so strict, but he's all about the business.
Yeah.
He's all about the business, and that's what you kind of want. And now we have that, and like I said, we just got to keep trusting him. And like you said, he's gonna miss on some stuff. And trust me, we'll be here to dissect it every wrong move that we think.
Oh yeah.
He's not. Yeah, trust me, we love Ron Rivera, but he's not gonna be off the hook, not at
Right.
all. Like, but he might do some stuff, but it's gonna it's just one of the things where we're gonna trust him. But trust me, it's gonna go down. It's because I have a strange feeling. It's some stuff some intrigue is going to happen this season where there's going to be a lot of things that could get especially this quarterback position where I think it's going to be the biggest question mark. And I think
Oh,
how he
obviously. Yeah.
handles that,
Absolutely.
how he handles that week in and week out is going to definitely be, I think, is going to be pretty much the prevailing story, barring anything catastrophic with this team. That'll probably be the biggest headlines with this team.
I do think, and I'm not trying to get ahead of ourselves, and because obviously training camp is coming up, we're going to be covering that very closely. I
Yeah.
do think that training camp we're going to see a surprise cut. Somebody that we think is a shoe in on this team. I think we'll be looking for a new team in 2021.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? And you say it, and it's true. I mean, it happens. And like, I'm telling you, I'm all right. I would be 100% transparent. I was low key mad, like literally mad, like when Adrian Peterson got cut.
I I was
I
too.
was I was mad because to me, I look at especially of how this season ended and how where he ended up being. He ended up being like, cause I was like, cause he ended up going to Detroit, didn't he? No, he
Yes.
didn't go to Detroit.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, he went to Detroit, and it's like it's even worse there. And
Yeah.
like to me, I thought he would have been such a great mentor. Because I always say the ones who I give respect are to the ones when you're not playing for something and you're still playing like it's something and you
Yeah.
carry yourself as if you're playing for something, you're gonna get respect out of me. Like like him, like gas him, and like Ryan Kerrigan. I in that 3-13 disaster season in 2019, those are two guys I looked at like, man, these are our leaders. Like those guys, week in and week out, when we was getting our teeth kicked in. Shout out Dan Campbell, but but when we was getting when we was getting beat every week in and week out, they were always there talking to the media. They were there and just putting a positive spin on everything, even though they were putting lipstick on the pig week in and
Yep.
week out.
Yeah.
And that's letting me know like those type of guys you want in your trenches. They're the guy you want in your foxhole. So for him to get cut, because what I really wanted for him is to ride off in the sunset. He run for us. He maybe potentially break Emmitt Smith record potentially on his team, and then 5 years later he goes to Canton, and I
Yep.
wanted his happily ever after to be here in Washington,
How
but
fitting would that be
obviously
though for a Washington football team player to break like the
Emmitt
sixth or seventh best running back record in history? That'd be cool. I gotta look at my list. I don't think he's top. He definitely not top 3. I don't know if he's top 5, but it's for another day. That's for the island. I'll probably get into that island one of these days.
Yes.
I don't know.
Fire up the boat. Fire up the boat. Yes, indeed. Because, dude, they yo, get your life gear. Get your life gear ready because it's gonna be a bumpy ride on Cruise Island.
Oh yeah.
Oh boy, they ain't ready for that conversation. That is
They're
by
not.
far. That's
They're
the
really
elephant.
not.
That's the elephant in the ocean.
Yep. I don't know. Maybe I can get Mo on. Maybe I can.
Oh boy,
I'm 2-0.
yeah,
I'm 2-0 on the island,
yeah.
so maybe I'll make it. Maybe I'll make it an even 3.
Man, oh man, yo, fire up the boat! I tell you, man, yo, we are here, man. That is crazy. That you cruise, man. That's viral. But yeah, so next topic is our wide receiver core the best in the NFC East. What you got, Cruz? We going back on Allen?
Are they the best team, the best wide receiver core? And we're just talking wide receivers, right?
Yeah, we talk wide receivers, yeah.
Not pass catchers as a whole, just wide receivers.
This wide receivers, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Without a doubt. Not even a question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's no comparison. Because so I went on Pro Football Focus, and like we talked about a little bit ago, they got numbers. It's not just names. They got numbers to back it up. Now I went through the numbers of the top 3, the top 3 receivers from last season on each team in the division. Dallas, I cheated a little bit because their third best receiver with their third best graded wide receiver was not their third best receiver. I forgot who it was, to be honest, but their top 3 receivers, we can all agree: Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, CeeDee Lamb.
Yep.
We can agree on that. Pro Football Focus grade for each of them respectively: Amari Cooper 75.9, 66.3 for Gallup, CeeDee Lamb 71.6. Add those 3, divide by 3, basic math, the average 71.3. New York Giants: Kenny G, Sterling Shepard, Darius Slayton, 81.6, 79.6, and 67.8 respectively. That average 76.3. So right off the bat, Dallas isn't even the best wide receiver core in the league. That's just going off of 2 teams. You look at Philly, who should be an XFL team. Their average is 67. I will say though, they did draft Devontae Smith, Heisman Trophy winner. We all know he obviously doesn't have a Pro Football Focus grade, so I didn't add him into the mix. But Travis Fulgham, JJ Arceo-Whiteside, and Jalen Reagor average out to 67. We don't know what Devontae Smith is going to bring to that wide receiver group. We can assume he can improve it. Is he going to improve it by 10 points? Probably not. So you look at Washington. Our top 3 last season: Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel, Adam Humphries. Those are the 3 highest graded wide receivers. Obviously, Curtis Samuel and Adam Humphries weren't on our team last year. Can assume those are wide receiver 1, 2, and 3. Terry McLaurin 78.5, Curtis Samuel 77.1, Adam Humphries 69.9. That average 75.2. So we're only 1 full point off of the New York Giants as far as Pro Football Focus grade, the average of the top 3. Now that's not including, obviously we said pass catchers, because we can throw in Logan Thomas if they want to. I don't think they do. That's not including the quarterback play. Because Philly, I think if you throw in Jalen Hurts, it goes down. New York Giants, they should end up being an XFL team if they're on Daniel Jones. Dallas will probably their grade will probably go up a little bit if you account for Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
And Washington might probably be about the same if you take into account Ryan Fitzpatrick. So yeah, I mean, you look at we're a point off top 3 receivers from the Giants, who mathematically, according to PFF.com, have the best wide receiver core, at least the top 3 wide receivers in the division. Mm-hmm. Now you have to look at the quarterback position. Ryan Fitzpatrick versus Daniel Jones. I don't care who you are. I don't care who you're a fan of, even if you are a Giants fan. If at this point in time you would rather have Daniel Jones than Ryan Fitzpatrick, you're playing yourself. You're lying to yourself. You're trying to convince yourself that Daniel Jones was worthy of that 6th overall pick, because right now that pick still looks good because Dwayne Haskins is gone. He's already on his 2nd team. He was a 15. That was the top 2. Those were the top 2 quarterbacks in that draft class. The fact that he's gone, he's already been released, and he's in Pittsburgh now. That's all the Giants have now. It's well, our quarterback didn't, he's still on the team. Yes, he's still on the team. Is he a better quarterback? Probably not. Our quarterback didn't get cut because he was a trash quarterback. He got cut because of his off the field issues, and he was immature and he was a child. If it wasn't for that, he'd probably still be on the team right now.
Yeah.
Honestly, if he didn't go to a strip club maskless after his head coach had just finished, cancer treatment, he'd probably still be on the team. Yeah, he'd probably be fighting for that QB2 spot and probably lose it, but he'd still be on the team. Yeah. Daniel Jones, he will not be on the team after this season. They will draft another quarterback next year. So you have to look at it. You're looking numbers-wise. Yes, you can make the argument. Washington has the best wide receiver core, and that's just top 3. That's not including Cam Sims, who played great for us, especially in that Pittsburgh game that I was just watching about an hour ago.
Yeah.
So, yes, absolutely. Are we the best right now? You can make the argument. You can also make the argument that we're not. But I believe that by the end of the season, without a doubt, we will be the best wide receiver core in the division.
Yeah, I think so. Like you said, and I look at, like you said, I think from top to bottom, I think as far as I think even the top 3, I think we're right there with Dallas, and we're right with the Giants. And I just look at just the whole depth. I think we have the best depth out of all the wide receiver cores in this division. And that's another. And it's funny that when you talked about there's going to be a surprise cut, or there's going to be a guy that's we're going to be really shocked that somebody could get cut. It's probably going to come out of this group. I mean, in theory, when you think about it, because you look at, we got Scary Terry, Curtis Samuel, Adam Humphries, Damani Brown, Gandy Golden, Cam Sims, the other Sims, Steven
Sims Jr., yep.
And then, so that's 7 right there. We're not keeping 7 wide receivers.
Oh, absolutely not.
So, and you just look at that where it's just like, and that's the weird thing about, like you said, and this is where the surprise cut is going to come from. It's going to come from this group. I mean, essentially, and then you look at all 7 of those guys have played effectively in this league, and they've played, for the most part. Maybe Gandy Goldie, I may kind of shy away from that previous statement, but he had, so you just look at it from that standpoint of just how the depth of it, where the bulk of these guys have put in work in this league from a depth standpoint. Yeah. We're unmatched, but
yeah. So right now we have 12 wide receivers. We have 12 wide receivers on the roster as of right now.
Wow.
Could you list it? I know you listed 7 of them. Isaiah Wright played good at times.
Oh, yeah, Isaiah
Kelvin
Wright.
Harmon.
Yeah.
Kelvin Harmon was dealing with that, I think, ACL tear.
Oh, yeah,
he's coming back from that. Yeah, he said he's coming back. He's feeling good.
I forgot
Um,
about him.
yeah,
Right.
we're stacked at receiver.
I'm Isaiah Wright. Yeah, he was a kind of I remember him. He was all right. He was doing pretty good in the Cleveland game.
Yep. Yeah, he
Oh man,
produced when we needed
yeah,
him to.
right. I totally forgot about Harmon because he got hurt so early. I forgot about Harmon. Oh
So
man,
there's no reason our wide receiver core can't be the best. And when we say wide receiver core, we're talking top to bottom, number one to number however many it ends up being.
Yeah.
To account for injuries, any of these guys can play. And now that we have a quarterback who likes to throw it deep, who likes to throw downfield, because with Alex Smith, it was 10 yards max was what he would normally throw. Like a 10-yard throw from Alex Smith was a big play. Very seldomly did you see him go deep 20 plus yards. Someone like Ryan Fitzpatrick, he'll throw a 20-yard pass on a halfback screen if he thinks the guy can get open. But now that we have somebody like that, this opens up the playbook, and probably Scott Turner is going to get creative. And we're solely going off of Ryan Fitzpatrick being week 1 starter all the way through week 17.
Yeah.
We don't know what's going to go on with our boy Hennessy. He could surprise us. He could take that QB1 spot. And you know what? Whoever ends up being QB1, I'm going to trust Ron Rivera's decision because, again, like we just said, he hasn't failed yet at the QB position. Failure, I won't say failure. If he keeps Kyle Allen on the roster, I will consider that a failure. But also to go back to the wide receiver position, dude from New England, what?
Oh, Henry,
Nikhil Henry. Yeah, he wants to be traded. Why not?
I heard.
Why not get rid of a Dax Milne, who honestly I've never heard of, and maybe Antonio Gandy Golden, maybe.
Remember that was my preseason offensive rookie of the year in 2020.
That was. I didn't want to bring it up. I wasn't going to be the one to bring it up. But I mean, who's to say that they won't give up that New England, that Bill Belichick won't take a 4th, 5th round pick, because he loves those mid-round picks. He's not a big first, second round guy. He likes a mid-round picks. Give him a 4th and a 5th, 4th or a 5th, and throw in a tier 2, tier 3 player that we're deep at. Maybe give him another receiver, and then you only have to cut 1 or 2 more guys at that position, maybe 3 if you really wanted to. You can cut Kyle Allen because he just to make space. So yeah, I mean, absolutely. Why not bring him on? He's still on his rookie deal.
Yeah.
And I don't know for sure. I don't know for sure if they're able to extend him on or pick up that 5th year option. I believe they would be if they were to trade for him. I'm 99% sure if they were to trade for him, he would still technically be they're trading for that contract. So he'd still be on his rookie contract. He was a 1st round pick, so he comes with a 5th year option you can pick up, relatively inexpensive. If he ends up producing, great. If not, you gave up a 4th round pick. Oh well.
Right.
We've gone up, we've given up more for worse. And then because I think it's if he's released and then we sign him, that's technically a new contract, but that's neither here nor there. So yeah, we can still pick up his 5th year option. We'd be good to go. Golden, like Antonio Gandy Golden, being traded to the New England Patriots.
Yeah. Yeah, man. We giving up on the Liberty product already.
Look, it's not so much because I have a friend of mine that I worked with. So kind of pay attention to their football team a little bit. Look, I'm trying to get a dub. I'm trying to see my team lift the Lombardi Trophy. I've never seen it. That's all I want. If giving up Antonio Gandy Golden ensures us the Super Bowl, I'll take it. I'll take it all day.
Oh, that's an easy sacrifice.
They can even have JD McKissick. I'll throw him in too.
Hey, we're up for business. Like you said, Belichick, that's his type. Third and fourth round picks. That
Oh,
gets
how
him
much?
that gets him excited.
Yeah, but how much do you think we can get for Brandon Scherf from New England?
Oh, but shoot, they might give us McCorkle.
No, we don't want McCorkle.
I
We
know.
don't want McCorkle.
With this,
Give
with
up
this,
Brandon Scherf, get N'Keal Henry and a first round pick.
because he's gonna walk next year.
Right. So at this point, your goal should be to trade him because he clearly does not want to come back.
Yeah,
He's
I
made that
mean,
very clear. We drafted
hey,
Samuel Cosme out of Texas, who I think can be a solid
yeah,
replacement for him. We signed Cornelius Lucas from Chicago,
yep.
who I think his grade was 78.9, so it
That's
wasn't
good.
terrible. So
And
yeah, I
then
think
your boy's there, the one that you love, Sadiq Charles.
yep. Sadiq Charles, he's
Oh
coming
yeah,
back. Coming back off
that's
that
your guy.
injury. That
See,
is
we
absolutely.
check right.
Oh,
Yeah,
we're
man.
set.
Yeah,
We're
we
set.
got
Just go
yes,
ahead
sir.
and order the Super Bowl 53 shirts or 55 shirts right now. Whatever Super Bowl we're on.
I think 56. I think.
56. It's been 56 already.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Man,
yeah, because last year was 55.
was it? I thought
Yeah,
so.
last year was 55. Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, like you said, I wonder about it. Now that's interesting about the Brandon Sheriff thing. If you give us a first, I mean, hey, back
I'll
in
do it in
your
a heartbeat.
first at this point, yeah, because you're not gonna get nothing for him because he gonna
Mhm.
walk because you're not gonna put him on a franchise again. You ain't
No,
put a franchise tag on them. I know that for a fact.
I
You're
mean
not gonna Kirk Cousin him again.
you could,
I mean, you could, but in
but
theory,
because
I
then
mean,
you're paying him a lot of money for 1 year, and then if he gets hurt, then you're definitely even in a trade you wouldn't get anything for him.
right. Get
At
something
this
now, like
point,
almost here. Okay.
get as much as you can. I would even press to try to trade him by the start of training camp. So that way you get maximum compensation. You get that new guy in, start getting
Yep.
him familiar with the team, that playbook. That's what
Yep.
I would be pushing for right now if I was Ron Rivera. But the closest thing that I have to being a GM is on Madden, and I have
Yep.
that on rookie mode. So they don't really give me too much pushback on that.
Oh yeah, and then like you said, if you in theory, because have we learned our lesson from Trent Williams where people was literally giving us stuff, and then we end up getting what a fifth round pick out the deal,
A third.
third out the deal,
A
and then
third.
giving
Well,
us,
we got a fifth in that current draft, and that
and
it was
then
the 2020 draft,
yeah,
and then this past we got a third in this past draft.
right, and then we gave him the Cal Shanahan and them boys.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yep.
what are y'all? And now, and Trent Williams is a top 25 player in his league
Yep.
once again.
Yep. So
Due to
yeah,
that.
definitely
But yeah,
we gotta do something with that. We definitely have
maximize.
to learn from that.
Yep. So, our final topic tonight is a very, very, very special topic. We're gonna name our favorite players from the 20 teens. And I think you have probably one of your favorite players from the 20 teens jersey on, if my memory serves correct. So
He may
Rob,
not he may or may not be in my top three, and
oh okay,
we'll get
okay,
to that in a little bit. But yeah,
yeah, yeah.
he definitely is one of my favorite players.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but at number three, I have three right now.
Okay,
Three, I got D'Angelo Hall.
yeah.
He was. I remember when we signed him. I think from Oakland. He was with Oakland
Yep.
because he got drafted by Atlanta, Oakland for a little bit, had a cup of coffee there, and then was with us the rest of his career.
Mm-hmm.
One of if not the best corner in the league in his time. One of my biggest memories, the things that pops up instantly, is his 4-pick game against your boy Jay Cutler
Yes.
against Chicago. I think we still ended up winning that game by like 5 or 6 points.
Yeah.
If he didn't have those 4 picks, we would have gotten blown out. One of my one of the things that it makes me laugh now,
Hmm.
not that anybody getting hurt is funny, but just that whole interaction before and after pre preseason practice. They were doing a co-practice with the Houston Texans, and him and DeAndre Hopkins, they were drawing back and forth. That's what the competitors do. They talk
Yeah.
trash, so they're going back and forth. And DeAndre saying, I beat you no matter what. It doesn't matter what route. D Hall's talking back. I lock down. You're nobody when I'm on. So he starts to go. He
Mm,
goes. He starts like he's running a go route.
yeah.
So D Hall starts to turn around to go because D Hall was slower than DeAndre Hopkins at that time, and
Yeah.
obviously still is now. He goes to turn his hips, and Hopkins
Mm,
stops on a dime, turns around, running that little button curl, and then it hits D Hall. He tries to stop, and then ends up tearing his Achilles,
yeah. Oh,
and he was never the same. I think shortly after that, he retired because he was never the same. He tried playing safety for a little bit.
yep.
One because of his age, two because of that. He just was not the same player. Um, Number two, my boy London Fletcher.
Oh
I
yeah.
have signed before we went live. I was assigned between this jersey and my London Fletcher jersey. So for those of you that don't know, I've told this story a million times. I believe I'm cursed when it comes to jerseys of any athlete. So like we've said before, I've gotten my very first jersey was Champ Bailey jersey. A couple years later, he was traded. After that, I got a Stephen Davis jersey. Shortly after that, he was released. 2007, I got a Sean Taylor jersey. A month and a half later, he was shot and killed. So I've kind of pumped the brakes a little bit on jerseys of current players. I thought for like 5 minutes a few months ago to get a Chase Young jersey. My father quickly talked me out of that. He was like, no, we need him. Don't do it. It's not worth it. Wait till he retires and he's in the hall. Then go get yourself a jersey. I said, okay. So funny story. London Fletcher was 2012 RG3's rookie season.
Mm,
Um, my dad is the most loving person in the world. When I come home or when he visits, 99% of the time, I either end up leaving his house with something of his or he gives it to me. That's how he is. If I see something I like and I show interest, here, you can have it. I have a Padres cup back there that he was drinking out. They were here last weekend for my daughter's
mhm,
birthday. And I was like, yo, that's a really dope cup. He's like, yeah, you can have it. I was
mm,
like, no, it's all right. Like, he's like, no, I got another one at home. It's yours. So now it's back there. I get home, and this is the first year that Nike took over, and they came out with the Flyknit jerseys, the Flyknit on the neck.
mhm,
And I get home. I come home on leave. There's also my first year in the Navy, right before my first deployment. I get home on leave. He shows it to me. Oh, that's a badass jersey. Has a Flyknit. It's a 75th anniversary patch on the collar.
mhm.
It's a throwback, like the really really dark, almost like a purple with the old school logo
Yeah.
on the sleeve. It was one of those. Loved it. He was like, yeah, you could have it. That I didn't even try to argue with him like this. He said I could have it. I took it. The next day, London Fletcher misses practice. Mind you, London Fletcher is Mr. Ironman. He's never
Yeah.
missed a game. The
Never.
next day, he misses practice with an injury. I so happened when I left, went back to Florida to hit my deployment. I forgot that jersey at his house. Ended up being fine that week. Ended up finishing out his career with Washington. Did not miss a single game. I truly believe to this day, had I taken that jersey with me, he would not have played in that game. He was not going to play that week. It was so weird the way it lined up. I got the jersey next day, boom, practice, which was for London Fletcher very rare, for a serious injury. So I was like, so I'm glad that I left the jersey there. I eventually got it back. And then obviously number one, like you said, I'm wearing his jersey, and I wore his jersey today because of that RG3. If you would have asked me this question 4 or 5 years ago, he would have been at the bottom of my list. He wouldn't even have been in the consideration for favorite player of the 2010s. I've grown, I've matured, I've learned, and I've obviously changed my views of him.
Yeah.
Like we heard the stories in 2012, 2013, 2014 of him, going by Mike Shanahan, going straight to Dan Snyder, trying to influence the offensive play style. He was honestly probably the most electric quarterback or electric player that we've had in my lifetime, in my 28 years of life. And pairing him with Deshaun Jackson, I thought was going to be a phenomenal. I thought we could have been one of the top offenses in the history of the league. If RG3 wouldn't have gotten hurt in 2012, wouldn't have torn his ACL for a third time, I think that he would still be playing for us and we would have one of the best teams in the league. But that injury truly changed him.
Yeah.
He that was his third ACL tear on that leg. And from there, he was never the same. He tried to truly be, and this is what baffles me about that whole situation is he really did try to be a pocket passer. He wanted to be. I remember him saying all the time, I was trying to be a pocket passer because one, that's what the league was. This was before Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson. Because remember, the best quarterback that year was Andrew Luck coming out of the draft, and he was a typical, pro style quarterback, sit in the pocket and launch it. Our ACL, he really did want to try to be an Aaron Rodgers type, a Tom Brady, a Peyton Manning type, sit there in the pocket and read the defense. And for whatever reason, Mike Shanahan, according to reports, was not having it. He thought he knew best, and as the coach, you should have that mindset. And I think that really essentially ruined his career. He went on to Cleveland to do absolutely nothing. But in his defense, all quarterbacks who go to Cleveland, minus Baker Mayfield, in the last 25 years, they go there to do nothing.
Yeah.
He was with Baltimore last season, backing up Lamar Jackson, future bench warmer. And I don't know if he signed. I know they released him, and I don't know if he has signed since then.
I don't think so. I think
But
he's, yeah.
hopefully he does. Maybe there's a spot. There's a QB2 spot for him over in DC.
Hey, never say never.
Hey, I'm with it.
Hey, I mean, like you said. So yeah, and I'll break mine down to three, and I also so my number three it's got to be Kirk Cousins. It's and like we always talk about, and like when it comes to DC quarterbacks, as far as a hierarchy, when it comes just in general, it's the president, QB2, and potentially QB1 is the pecking order. We all know that the backup quarterback is usually is almost just as famous as the president as far as the pecking order in Washington D.C.
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins, the things he's done, I think, especially his rookie year, in Cleveland when they played after the injury against Baltimore in 2012, RG3's benched for that game. Kirk Cousins and a temperate Cleveland against the Browns on a very cold, wintry day in December of 2012. Yeah. The play action king was just hitting everything, and what he was doing, even in that Baltimore game, because RG3 was out with last 2 possessions or whatever, and Kirk Cousins came in and saved the day for us in that matchup. The one that really to me was a quintessential, and he was another one that kind of you love him and you hate him. Like he's had moments where obviously when we think about 2016, 2017, those years where we were kind of on the cusp of making the playoffs and him not delivering. But my favorite moment of his is all time. This was in 2015. This was in October 2015 we played Tampa. Now, mind you, this had the sequence of events was we were down at halftime. So what I ended up doing, because I was supposed to meet up with my uncles across town. So I just we was going to wait till after the game. But I was like, no, I'm just going to head over there. And then I'm listening to it on the radio. And I'm like, oh, we coming back. So then I'm at my uncle's house. And, I get there. We kind of get settled in. And he said, hey, let's go. And I'm like, no, we're not leaving this house until this game is over. And then and then Kirk Cousins willed us to that victory. That's you like that? You like
Yep.
that? You like that? And I was like, you know what? Kirk Cousins is my guy. Kirk Cousins is ultimate. Yeah, and like you said, he's had good moments and bad moments, but I really want to think about him in the good moments. Number two, Chris Cooley. I loved Chris Cooley. I think Chris Cooley was literally like essentially a Washington football guy.
Did he play in the 2010s?
Yeah, Chris Cooley. Yeah, because he was there with he was with us. Yeah, he probably retired probably like 2013, 14. Because I remember one
I
year
thought he
he was in the
retired
training camp.
sooner than that.
Nah, he was with us within the RG3 years. He
Okay.
was there. Yeah, he was there. And then he was there, when we was horrible too. Before RG3. Yeah, he was around. He probably hit the bulk of his was in the early 2000s, obviously.
Yeah.
But I mean, he was a part of that as well because I don't think I really mentioned him last week. And then I got 2A and then 2B. Obviously, Ryan Kerrigan, what Ryan Kerrigan
Yeah.
did, especially his first game. I always think about that first game where he against the Giants in 2011,
The
where he
Giants,
returned
that's right.
returned that touchdown, and that was pretty much the deciding factor of that game. And then just him, like we talked about it earlier, where he was just a consummate leader through the good times and the bad times. He was always kind of that same kind of guy. It was really just ebb and flow, even killed the type of person that you want on your team. Like he was,
Yeah.
he fit the role. He was definitely, our leader. And I think number one, like you said, is RG3. And I think you just look at it from that standpoint of what he did for this franchise. Like, you got to sit down and think about it. In that 2012 season where we won the NFC East championship, that was the first time we've won an NFC championship since 1999. And you look at that's a 13-year drought,
Yep.
and everything, even to that first game against New Orleans, where he just lit it up, and it's like it just felt like you said, it felt electric. Every week felt like it was almost, and I pardon my hyperbole, but it almost kind of felt like Jordan. Like it was something about it was like kind of Jordan-esque, where it's almost like what we're gonna see next of him. Not
Yeah.
saying that he was like a Jordan, but as far as he had that type of ability to make you think what's gonna be next. Like every week was so exciting. Like it was like pretty much like prime time television for me. Like even though we came on at 1:00 just about for the bulk of those games. And then you just look at just the highs and lows of that season. I remember the Minnesota game where he pretty much willed us to win that game where he had the concussion, but he ran like crazy in that game.
That
And
run.
just like that run, and then you just look at it, it was just so many great moments in that season. And then you just think about it, and it's funny because we talked about like trading assets stuff. That was when we traded all those picks to the Rams and lost 3 years worth of draft picks.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, and this is just me being, gosh, Rob, I was like, yeah, I was 28. Oh, Lord, I was your age in 2012. Good Lord. Anyway, but in theory, and I remember like, because I don't know if you remember back in not to kind of do the politics thing, but the Hope Obama campaign, and they had an RG3 one that says Hope.
They did.
And that's
that was my background on my phone for a while.
That was my profile picture for about a few months, because in theory it was right because he gave us hope. He was like our messiah for Washington football at that particular time. He saved us because we were once another team that was bad. We even though we had Mike Shanahan in them, he was another one where he had like some roller deck of quarterbacks. He loved John Beck to death. Like I don't know, he had an affinity for him. He had an affinity for our guy Ryan Tannehill, even though he probably would have came to us if we didn't pull all those trades. But I just think what he did even in that short sample size was crazy. And then what's crazy about all that? And then also just their run, the Dallas game. I thought that was, just all that stuff, and just that whole run in general was just fun in 2012. And then you just look at even when, and it's funny because we talk about now Washington, the Washington football team. Their head, their training camp is always in Richmond. So I remember the first year in Richmond in 2013. I mean, it was almost like falling like a rock star. It was like he had a rock star, like a cult like following, and it was in. Even the funny thing about it, that's when I kind of, and it was a weird thing. I always had reservations of their injury because I remember every day he used to go to training camp and he would just run around the perimeter of the practice facility. And it's like, and I looked at, and I swear that I looked at his legs. I'm just like that. I just looked at it and I was like, he's not right. He's not 100%. And people was like, well, the doctor's clear. The doctor's clear you for anything. I was like, when he come out at 3:30 tomorrow afternoon and the walkthrough, look at his legs. He ain't 100%. He ain't ready. And
Yeah.
I said that from the jump. And I'm like, and then you could just tell how 2013 started. Like he just weren't ready. They kind of rushed him. And then, like you said, then the other years transpired, the Jay Gruden years, and then the concussion in that Detroit game, and that pretty much he was a healthy scratch after that, and then seeing Kirk Cousins win the division in 2015, and it was just the beginning of the end. And
Yeah.
even with that, I would give him credit because that's another thing too, where to him to be on the sidelines, he still kind of had the type of composure. People could even question his body language in those type of predicaments, but I like he handled it pretty well. Like he handled it to a point where, I mean, you have to sit down and think about it. This man was like the offensive rookie of the year 3 years ago, and he's relegated to the bench. He's a healthy scratch. He's not hurt. He's a healthy scratch. He had a concussion in August, and they pretty much shelved him. Like before he can even crack a second deal, he's on the bench, and he's getting. And then you got to think about it. They drafted. They both was drafted in the same year, and he was a 4th-round pick, and I'm the number 2 overall pick. They still don't even have draft picks because of me.
Mm-hmm.
So how he handled it, I thought it was well. I think he handled it very well, considering the fact of the circumstances he was in at that point.
He handled it a lot better than the people saying he handled it poorly would have handled it had they been in that situation.
Correct.
We can sit here all day, and we will sit here until this show gets canceled, until Chris and Mo decide that Washington football talk is enough, and they cancel us. But we can sit here and talk about things that the way the things should have been handled and things that should have been said. But I've never been benched I've never been a 2nd overall pick in the NFL and been benched for a 4th-round pick in the same year. So, we can sit here and talk, and everybody talks how he handled it, how he should have handled it. You weren't in that situation. You don't know how you would have. I know for a fact I wouldn't have handled it that well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but I do want to bring up one thing though, real quick. The Kirk Cousins. One of my favorite games from him is the one in 2015 when we won the division against the Eagles.
Yes.
At the end of the first half. At the end of the first half, so he kneels the ball, and then kind of tries to spike it, and then he tries to act like he didn't kneel or spike it, and tries to run in the end zone. The interview that Jay Gruden did a few months ago, they talked about that play. So what happened, and I don't know if we have ever talked about it, but I love the story, and I love that interview with Jay Gruden. I think he did it with Kevin Sheehan, I believe.
Yeah.
It was Kevin Sheehan. So Pierre Garçon hated running fades. He refused. When I say he refused, not like I refuse to do something and then I end up doing it, but no, he literally refused in the sense that play that was supposed to be ran. It was supposed to be a fade to Pierre Garçon. When he snapped the ball, Pierre Garçon stayed. He did not even move. He didn't take a step. Nothing. So Kirk Cousins looked. He didn't know what to do, which I don't blame him. I wouldn't know what to do in that situation either. So he nailed the ball, realized, oh shit, I shouldn't have done that. Pretends to spike it to try to hopefully stop the clock because we didn't have any more timeouts. And I said, screw it, I'm just gonna run for it. That is my favorite Kirk Cousins story ever.
Yeah, man. Kurt was an interesting, and that's the thing with him. I really liked him. And he was another guy where, like, you always rooted for him, and even now, I think I root for him even more now, and with Minnesota. But like you said, he was another one where he had his highs and lows, and then I remember, I think the one that really kind of essentially like it really really like pissed me off was in the 2016 season where we win and we end. Now this is the Odell Beckham boat thing. After the game, they went on that
Mm-hmm.
boat.
Yep.
So, and now, mind you, in that game, they let all the dogs out. They like nobody. I don't think they had any starters in after the midpoint of the third quarter. So this is Kirk Cousins' shot to be like they pretty much let us in, and then lo and behold, no. He throws that errant interception, and then we're done. We're out of the playoffs. Odell Beckham and them down a boat, shirtless, with Trey Songz in them. And I was like, dude, we literally pissed off an opportunity. Like, we literally
And you know
had an
what? I don't
opportunity.
even blame him for that season. I really don't.
I don't necessarily, but I mean
I'm,
that game.
I,
I think that
I
game in
blame
general.
I blame whoever our kicker was in London.
Oh,
That's who I
Dustin,
blame.
Dustin
Dustin
Hopkins.
Hopkins. Yep.
Oh
That's who
yeah,
I'm blaming.
because we would have, that game wouldn't have mattered.
If we would have won that game, we would have
And
already clinched the spot.
I'm gonna tell you one thing. I hope Roger Goodell never put us back in London. Please
You better not.
don't ever like if we gotta play Jacksonville. Let us. I hope we playing them at home. Like we gotta play Jacksonville, and I hope by the time we play Jacksonville, they put butts in the seats. I think they will with Trevor Lawrence and Tim Tebow, but that's here no there. But please don't ever let us go back to London. I beg you. I never wanted that game. That game lives in my mind rent free. Like I can talk to a psychologist or whatever. It's still gonna live in my head rent free. That game pissed me off. Like I couldn't believe we tied with them. Like, and that's funny. I thought about that, and it's funny. I really really thought about it when we played Cincinnati this year, and I'm like, oh boy, here go some BS gonna happen in this game. But don't ever schedule us to go to London. Never.
I'll play in Antarctica before we play in London.
I know. Let's go down to Mexico City or somewhere or another. All right, like get us somewhere. Hopefully the stadium issues be okay. Like because that's what happened last time, but they couldn't have a game in Mexico City.
Yeah, it was supposed to be Kansas City and the Rams.
And the Rams, and they end up being and I know they kicking themselves like that was a classic game. Like that was probably one of the best.
That was one of the best games we've ever seen.
Right, and I'm thinking to myself, I know Mexico City. Like, damn, we could have had that game.
Mm-hmm.
We literally could have had the best game, but that's how the cookie crumbles, unfortunately. But yeah, man. So, Rob, let's put a bow on this week's Watch the Football Guys podcast, man. Any final thoughts?
Not really. Just excited. I say it every week. I'm just excited. We're another week closer to the start of training camp, which means we're another week closer to the start of the season. I'm just excited to see what this season brings and what Ron Rivera does with this team, and who's going to be QB1.
Yeah, I'm excited too, and it's funny now, and it's funny because it's a weird part of this year for me. Because I know, like, I'm going to be locked in and focused, like, probably first preseason game with August the 12th, which is a month and 2 days away from now. And it's just going to be tunnel vision where all my Sundays are going to be consumed. Like, I can't wait for, like, every Sunday on the calendar is going to be something. And I know I'm going to go stir crazy during the bye week, which I don't understand why I do this. Like, we can be horrible, but that bye week just feels so miserable. and I know like that, and then it's gonna fall on daylight savings time this year. So I know it's gonna be even worse because no Washington football team is gonna be dark at 5 o'clock. So
Yep.
but I'm ready for that. I'm predisposed. I'm in my mind. I'm predisposed to be ready for that type of change in my life. But like you said, I cannot wait. My Sundays will be complete. Just all the rituals, listening to the pregame shows, the postgame shows, and just all kind of just the build up throughout the whole entire week. Like I'm just ready for it. Like I'm really got myself mentally in a place where I'm ready to occupy my Sundays until February 13th. So from
Where
maybe
Washington plays our final game of the season.
but yes, indeed, in LA, yes, indeed.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm just ready. I'm just ready. Yeah, I'm just to a point where from now to February 20th, February 20th being my next free Sunday. At this point,
Yeah.
well, once the season starts on September the 12th, and you just look after Labor Day, hey man, Sundays are for my Washington football team, and
Yep.
I'm ready. I'm really, 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 really ready for this season to happen, and just ready for the highs and lows of the season. Mainly
You
going to
know
be
what
the
I'm
highs
really
of the
ready
season.
for?
Yeah.
It comes on with the football season. I'm ready for Overreaction Monday.
Yes. Yes. I'll be back
I'm
September
ready for
13th.
Overreaction Monday to come back because
September
I have a
13th.
feeling these Overreaction Mondays are going to be epic this season.
Yes, September 13th. Yes, indeed. Bring that back on September 13th. We'll try to determine the time, but to coincide with everybody else's show, probably be September 13th. Might do it like around 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So
That works for me.
so it won't interfere with our guys, Jerry and Bars. But yeah, man. But but yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. Yeah, Overreaction Monday, September 13th. We'll let the cat out of the bag. Maybe I'll post that on IG on the 13th to kind of give people a reminder that it's gonna be back. Got 2 more months of that, so yeah, man, I'm definitely excited. So
Yep.
Rob, man, social media, man, where can they find you?
Y'all already know you can find me at FNC Pod on Twitter, Football and Chill Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. Um, I check out Cruise Island every Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. Pacific time, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for those of you who could stay up late. Because thank goodness I am on the West Coast. Because if I had a show on at 9:30 at night, I would not be able to do it. If you missed the one from 2 weeks ago, I didn't do one this past Wednesday because I had other stuff going on. But the one from 2 weeks ago was a really good one. I had VP Jeff Hunt on from Jeff Needs Help podcast. We talked about Carl Nassib coming out as gay, first openly active football player to come out. We talked about why the NCAA is still a garbage organization, despite them pretending to be on board with name and image and likeness laws and rules. And then we also talked about why some people who do power rankings and tier listings are absolutely garbage because they're dumb and they don't make sense. So go check that out. Next Wednesday, we're going to talk about a little bit the Rachel Nichols and Maria Taylor situation a little bit. I know it's basketball, but it does,
Yeah.
branch out to every sport and life in general. And also we'll be talking about how I have come up with a solution on the NFL's farm system, and I think I figured it out. So I'll give you a hint. It involves Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Okay.
So Dwayne, if you hear this by some chance, give me a call, hit me up on Twitter, and we can get the ball rolling.
Big time. And definitely huge shout out to Carl Nassib, a former Washington football guy. He had a cup of coffee in Washington, if you remember serves correct.
He did, didn't he?
Yeah, Carl. Yeah,
I'm
Carl
pretty.
had a
I
cup of
gotta look
coffee
it up.
with us. And you know how I remember Carl Nassib? Hard Knocks. Remember when we used to play for Cleveland? He was a financial guy. He was telling everybody on the defensive line to diversify their
Yeah,
bonds. So definitely huge shout out to Carl Nesbitt. Yeah, man. He had a cup of coffee with us. I want to say probably was like 2006. Well, no, he might. I think he was in the Jay Gruden. Man, I'm gonna actually
I
pull
don't.
that up while I'm thinking. But yeah, Carl
It's
Nassib,
not
he had
showing up unless he was. Unless it
he
was
I
like
think he was like a
training camp.
mid-season. I want to say he was I'm actually pull it up. Yeah, Carl Nassib, he was with us like briefly. Like he like when like we we say cup of coffee in a hypothetical sense, but actually probably literal. It was a very,
Uh,
very, very short period of time that he was with us. If my memory serves correct, I'm actually gonna pull that up now. But I thought yeah, I think he was with us. I think he might have got cut if my because I want to say he was with. I thought I knew for certain. I
mm,
thought he was with us. At one point in time in
I don't think so because he was drafted in 2016 by Cleveland, and then they signed him. They waived him in 2018. Tampa got him off of waivers, and then Vegas just signed him to a 3-year deal last
yeah.
March.
Hmm. I must have got him confused with somebody else because I thought for certain. Yes, yeah, because I knew for certain. I thought he was with us. I thought he had a cup of coffee with us, but obviously probably not. But yeah, because I know because I remember him from Hard Knocks. Obviously with Hard Knocks, with he was a financial guy
Yeah, I
on
do
that.
remember that.
Yeah, I remember that. That's how I like. That's funny when they first talked about it. I was like, oh yeah, that's the financial dude with the Cleveland Browns. But yeah, man. So yeah, follow me on my podcast, Couch Coach Live. My personal page, Couch Coach P on Twitter, and also follow the podcast. We're gonna do a little bit more social media on our Twitter page. We did do we got a podcast on Spotify. I think we got Apple. I don't know if we got approved for Apple quite yet, but I know for certain it's on Spotify. And then I'm gonna work on a YouTube because we got 3 episodes in. I got the episodes, so we got to kind of start putting those in. And how about Watch the Football Guys podcast on YouTube as well? I'll be working on that as well. So probably by the time we come back next week, we'll have a YouTube page. I'll be working on that soon. And yeah, man, we counting it down to the days of training camp, and yeah, most definitely.
Yep,
So yeah, so definitely once again another great show, Rob. You know,
couldn't do
always
it
a great
without you.
yes indeed. Ditto. Same here, man, because we ought to watch the football guys and hey man, it is yeah, this is what we do. And we'll catch you guys next week, man. This has been another Washington Football Guys podcast, man. We'll catch you guys next week.